On fourth down, on the 3-yard line early in the fourth quarter, the Giants are now 6-3. After the game, Odell Beckham Jr. said, "We're really looking forward to February 5th in Houston. That's the goal, obviously. I probably said that the past 2 or 3 years since I've been in the league. I feel real confident in this team. The defense is a Super Bowl defense. This is a playoff defense. The offense, we're working to get better each and every day." Shannon, what was your biggest takeaway from last night's game?
I don't know what to make of the Bengals. When you look at them, they can beat any team that's on their schedule. And then you turn your head and look back, they can lose to any team that's on their schedule. And I think the biggest thing and the reason why we see so much inconsistency is that we see the inconsistency in their quarterback play. Because from week to week, you never know which Andy Dalton you're going to get. He can come out and throw for 3 touchdowns and 350 yards, and then the next week he looks like a totally different football player.
Yep.
The Bengals also, I look at the Bengals like a stock. The previous 12 years before Marvin Lewis arrived, they underperformed. They didn't make the playoffs. Marvin Lewis comes there. He's in his, 14th year now. Mm-hmm. He comes there, and the 7 of his first 13 years, they show growth. Mm-hmm. But now they seem to have
made the playoffs.
Right. They've made 7 times in their 13 seasons there.
Yep.
Now they seem to have stabilized. And it doesn't seem to be going up or down. It's just like they're here, right here.
Yep.
And that's what I don't get. And I don't know how much longer does Marvin stay there. Maybe they need to hear a new voice. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of Dalton because you got money invested in him. And who are you going to get? And I know Mike Brown. You know Mike Brown, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals. Mr. Brown, I shouldn't call him Mike. He's old enough to be my father. Mr. Brown is very cheap, miserly, thrifty, however you want to look at it.
Yep.
I don't believe Marvin's contract runs through next year. I don't believe he will fire Marvin, have to pay that salary, and then hire someone else and have to pay him. So that's where I am on the Bengals. The Giants, I still don't trust them. I watched Eli last night, and I see him make mistakes in year 13 that a guy that's in year 1 or 2 would make. And that's one of the reasons why I don't trust this team to go very far if they were to make the playoffs. Their defense, they're getting bang for their buck. Olivier Vernon is showing up. Janoris Jenkins, he's showing up. Harrison, what they signed him for from the Jets to stop the run, he's doing that. But the guy that I've been most impressed with is Landon Collins because he came out of Alabama. He was a run stuffer. Mm-hmm. He's all over the field. He leads them in sacks and leads them in INTs and tackles. He's a special type of player. So they have the defense that could possibly travel. But with Eli making these same mistakes that a first or second year quarterback would make, I don't really have a whole lot of trust in him.
I'll take your points in order. Let's start with Marvin and the Bengals. I can't write them off yet, even at 3-5-1, because they are so blessed to be playing in the division in which they are now inhabiting because nobody's very good.
No.
And even at 3-5-1, when I look down the rest of their schedule, they have 4 home games out of the last 7. Mm-hmm. They could win all 4 of those. They could win it. They got 1 game at Cleveland. I'm pretty sure they'll win that game.
Right.
So I don't know. Could they steal this division? Could they be an 8-8 playoff team, or they got a tie?
7-8-1.
So yeah, they could be 7-8-1, make the playoffs. Sure, they could. So I can't dismiss them, even though Marvin at this point, 14th year, 0-7 in playoff games, 0-7. It's hard to defend that. And at some point, I'm with you. You just need a new voice. But he, like his quarterback, is just good enough to keep his job. But Andy Dalton is not good enough to win the games, maybe a Monday night game on the biggest stage, or a playoff game. And I'm not sure Marvin is that guy either. They're almost like the same type, where they're pretty good. Right. Marvin's pretty good. I still think he might be a better defensive coordinator than a head coach, but he's been a pretty good head coach. Yes. Andy Dalton, he's made 2 Pro Bowls. I mean, that's pretty great. You know, like, okay, so he's good enough to stay in that job, but when you really need him, he's going to frustrate you. And he's going to torment Bengals fans because he's not that guy. There's no it factor to Andy Dalton, and there's no it factor to a pretty talented football team that still under Marvin, when you least expect it, or maybe most, I don't know, they self-destruct. Obviously, against Pittsburgh in that playoff game, they should have won it last year, right?
Yes.
and they shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, and Burfict went out of control, and we know the rest of that story. So I can't write them off, though, because they are fortunate to be in the position they are in their division. Now let's go to Eli. When that game ended last night, it felt to me like the Giants should have won by 2 touchdowns. They just felt that much better at home, their stage. And the reason they didn't win by 14 points is that, I'm going to go here. This occurred to me last night. Eli, as good as he can occasionally be, or often be, he's got some Jay Cutler in him. And the Jay Cutler is, the Cutler factor is where you have no threat from your backup quarterback. In fact, I forgot to even look it up. I'm not even sure who the backup is right now because it doesn't matter. Eli is amazingly healthy and durable. Amazingly. He just keeps on keeping on.
Yeah.
And the point is that he's a made man, obviously, in New York City. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings by hook or crook, but that's a whole other issue. But because of the rings, because of his pedigree, because of his father and his older brother, he's a Manning, but he can get away with just about anything he wants to get away with. And when you least expect it, he'll try something that is just flat out Jay Cutler stupid.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing? So what happened last night? Second quarter. This is the first interception. It's 7-all. They're buried in their own territory. And all of a sudden, he just rises up and throws it to Dre Kirkpatrick. Just hits him out in the flat. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he returns it, if we could see this. Up. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Come on, Eli. Up. Here we go.
He was late. Kirkpatrick, he did make a great play, but he was late. But this is the one you're talking about.
The second one is it's 21-20. They have made their 4th down play that Joy talked about, and Dalton has just thrown an interception. And you think it's game over, and Eli on the next play throws it right back to him, and you say, "What are you doing?" I'm sure Giants fans everywhere. What are you doing, Eli? Well, I say that every other Sunday about Eli Manning. It's that Jay Cutler where you have no checks and balance in your system. Like you're not afraid to try anything because there's no threat to you.
Right.
You're not going to get replaced. You're going to, Jay Cutler's just had this joyride in Chicago because he's never really been threatened by another, like a young upcoming quarterback, Dak Prescott.
Right.
There's never been a Dak Prescott in New York or in Chicago yet. So the Giants now, Eli has 15 touchdowns to 10 interceptions and 2 lost fumbles. They are -8 in turnovers, which ranks 30th in the NFL. Well, that's loser stats.
Yes.
But the defense has come alive, and now they've won 4 straight games because you know what? The defense, as a Cowboy supporter, it scares me the most of any NFC East defense.
Yes.
I think it's pretty good, and I think it has sort of a veteran quality to it. I just look around and I see players who have been there before. Even though they don't have playoff experience, I see a more solid defense. Janoris Jenkins and Landon Collins, they have players. Casillas, they have players who have been around, who have been there and done all this before. So they are the biggest threat to me in the division. You say you don't trust them. I still fear them a little bit as we talk about. The biggest threat to the Cowboys is obviously their owner, right? There's no doubt about that. But if I have to pick a team, it's this team that you initially picked to win the division.
Well, you say it's every week seems to be every other week that Eli make a play or do something that make you say, "What are you doing?" It's every game. He's going to make one of those plays. Now, whether or not the defense comes up with it, he'll make a throw, and you're like, Eli, why? But to get back to your Andy Dalton will win you a game. But can he win you the game? That's the question.
I don't see it.
That's the question you have to ask yourself. And I get it because you have to remember what the Bengals were before Marvin arrived. That was Siberia. There were a couple of franchises that you didn't want to, hey, it's an NFL team, but you have an idea like, I really don't even have a chance to win there. And no amount of money for me when I played could console me or insulate me enough that losing would be okay.
No amount of money?
No amount of money. No. Because I would
know. There might be.
No, I would take less money.
$300 million?
Well,
Maybe.
there
we go. Yeah. Okay.
But here's the thing. But I tell you what, 300 million or 200 million to win. But that was the thing, though, Skip. And so you look at where they were. The Bengals are like, yeah, we might not win a playoff game, but considering we were 1-15 or 2-14 or 6-10 every year, going to the playoffs is great. Now, would we like to be like the Patriots and win? We like to be like the Broncos that be in the playoffs and win every sure. But considering where we're coming from, and you have to realize the Bengals don't have the steepest pedigree. It's not.
Well, I mean, they had been to 2 Super Bowls before. Ken Anderson and Boomer. You know.
Yeah, and so from 91, and then last playoff appearance was 91, and then you see what they were from 91 until Marvin arrived on the scene in 03. You're like, they're very happy going 10-6, 12-4.
No, I got it.
But that's the thing. Have they reached the apex? Can Dalton and Marvin take them any higher than what they are right now? And that's the question Mr. Brown's going to have to ask himself. But you and I both know his pockets, man. Hey, he squeezed that eagle be crying on the quarter because he squeezed it tight. He ain't let no money go, Skip.
But by NFL standards,
yes.
He's cheap. But by
Skip, by normal people's standards, he's cheap.
I don't know. That franchise is still worth whatever it is, like
billions, right? And that's what makes it so egregious. Yep. Why he's so cheap. I mean, he digging way down. He like stuffing for like way down in his pocket trying to get money up out of there. Write the check.
They think for $300 million you would go to Cincinnati.
I'd take $200 million and go to New England.
Oh, who would?
Tough sell. Next up, the college football playoff rankings will be released tonight. Number 1 ranked Alabama won easily on Saturday, but for the first time since 1985, number 2, 3, and 4 ranked teams all lost on the same day. Skip, who should be in the top 4?
Joy. My top 4, obviously, Roll Tide. Give me a roll.
Yeah,
give me a roll.
I'm going to do it real slow. Go ahead, Skip.
You might be rolling all the way to the championship.
Yeah,
I'm not sure there's anybody